In the mid-1980s, the streets of Los Angeles were a landscape of shifting loyalties and escalating violence. But in the San Fernando Valley, a new force was taking shape. They weren't just a gang, they were a movement, a reflection of the streets they claimed. They were the Pacoima Van Nuys Boys, or as the streets knew them, PVNBS, the Noms. This is the story of their rise, their reign, and the legacy they left behind. Their story begins on the east side of Pacoima, in a housing complex on the 2700 block of Van Nuys Boulevard. Starting around 1984, a core group of young men came together. Names like Yogi, Taco, Casper, Gato, and Peedie were among the first. Before the intense gun violence became rampant, they were a different kind of crew, focused on local power and respect. But a dramatic change was on the horizon. The crack era of the late 80s was not just an opportunity, it was a revolution. It was a time when one of their own, a young man named Peedie, became the Hood Connect. Due to significant family ties to powerful networks in Mexico, Peedie allegedly became the primary source for the entire crew, transforming Pacoima Van Nuys into the most profitable operation in the San Fernando Valley. Peedie was reportedly raking in hundreds of thousands of dollars, and this wealth led to a fast-paced lifestyle, with 14 to 16-year-olds suddenly flush with cash, enjoying the spoils of their illicit enterprise. However, in a game with no rules, such power is a double-edged sword. Peedie's success made him a target. While a massive D-bust did occur in Silmar, seizing billions in cocaine, this was a separate event. Peedie's downfall came later. According to inside accounts, he was targeted by higher-ups within the drug network who sought to tax his lucrative operation, a price he ultimately refused to pay with his life. PVNBS earned a new level of infamy on February 3, 1990. The target, a well-known member of the rival San Fernando Youngsters, a young man known as Sonny Boy. According to accounts, a PVNBS homie was with a girl at Hanson Dam Park when they had a confrontation with two men from San Fernando. What started as a simple verbal exchange became a matter of pride. Back at the Hood, 3 PVNB's members, Casper, Taco, and another homie, jumped in a car to retaliate. The victim was more than just a rival gang member. He was the son of a kickboxing champion and the godson of actor Chuck Norris. The shocking murder made headlines, and the subsequent capture of the perpetrators solidified PVNB's image. Casper, identified as the shooter, received a sentence of 44 years to life. Taco, the driver, got 29 years, and the third member received a 9-year sentence. All 3 are now out of prison. The aftermath of this violent event contributed to the burgeoning peace treaty movement across South California, spearheaded by Sonny Boy's father and a former Mexican Mafia member known as Big D. This was viewed with skepticism, a perceived attempt by those incarcerated to exert greater control over the streets and finances. Despite this, the lure of the street remained strong. Members reminisced about the fun part, the ability to party anywhere without fear, especially cruising and gathering with hundreds of people along Laurel Canyon, from Paxton Street in Pacoima all the way to Rinaldi Street. As the original members aged, internal dynamics shifted. A younger, more aggressive clique known as the Hoodlums emerged in the 90s. They quickly gained a reputation for extreme violence, specifically killing many members of the rival Latin Times gang. One of their most notorious figures, a man named Sneaky, was eventually forced to flee to Mexico after being snitched on for a murder. Once there, his skills were quickly recognized by the cartels, who valued experienced gang members who required no training. Sneaky worked as a killer for the cartels for a few years before disappearing, leaving his family to fear he suffered the same fate as his victims. Law enforcement, particularly the crash units operating out of the Foothill Division in Pacoima, maintained a constant presence. Against the backdrop of the era, interactions between law enforcement and the community were often tense. Gang raids were a regular occurrence, a stark reality. Within PVNBS itself, another significant development occurred around 1995. One of their members became a made member of the Mexican Mafia while incarcerated. This marked a significant elevation in their status and influence, forging a direct link to the highest echelons of California's prison system and impacting their power on the streets. Another clique that emerged within PVNBs in the 2000s was known as the Anybody Killers, or ABKs. These younger members were characterized by an even more ruthless and violent approach than previous generations, reflecting the increasingly hostile environment of the streets. Life in the game, once entered, is rarely escaped entirely. Even those who moved on to become family men on the outside found that their past remained a constant presence. If arrested for any reason, regardless of how minor, their gang affiliation meant they were still considered active within the prison system. The streets of today are different, with youngsters using modified AR-15s and ghost guns that were unheard of in the past, a shift that the old guard views with a mixture of disbelief and disdain. The story of the Pacoima Van Nuys Boys is a raw and unfiltered look into a specific time and place in Los Angeles history. It's a narrative of ambition, violence, brotherhood, and the enduring consequences of choices made on the streets. While the landscape of gang culture continues to evolve, the echoes of the Pacoima Van Nuys Boys and the era they defined resonate still.